meat rains, creatures extracting water from stone, and wolverine frogs. Boy, our planet has so many mysterious secrets they can't all be counted. But let's raise the veil at least a little bit, shall we? There's a gene called Sonic Hedgehog that affects your development. There were also genes called Pokemon and Velcro, but they were later renamed. Wild monkeys keep the distance from each other to avoid contracting diseases when one or a group of them are sick. Big toe. Only 10% of people have this condition, and in ancient Greece, it was considered a beauty standard. Species of honeybees in South Africa that can give birth to new workers without any help from male bees. Ice glaciers are naturally formed museums of human history. By studying the layers of ice, we can tell exactly how societies of the past lived in any given era. There's a tiny thermometer inside every cell of a living being. It detects if it's too warm for comfort and changes how the cell works. To show they're hungry, captive otters sometimes lie on their back and flip stones up, catching them when they fall. Tiger sharks can travel thousands of miles, crossing entire oceans, but no one still knows why they do that. Geckos have thousands of extremely tiny hairs on each of their toes. Those allow them to climb and hold onto any surface. Koalas drink by licking water off tree trunks they're hanging onto. Your brain uses different hemispheres to store different memories. Things you hear or read are stored in the left hemisphere, and pictures or events you've seen in the right one. Tree frogs confuse predators by croaking in almost perfect synchrony with each other. Their enemies only hear one frog as a result, while there could be many more. Seagulls prefer food that was held by humans over food they've not seen touched by people. The Atacama Desert in Chile is one of the driest places on Earth, yet microorganisms there can literally extract water from stone to survive. Hidden beneath the ice and frozen earth in Antarctica and Siberia, there are giant viruses. They are 10 times larger than those we know and can survive for tens of thousands of years. Warm air rises, cold air falls. This is true for any place except tropics. There, cold but moist air rises instead, keeping the climate stable. Heavy rains may cause volcanic eruptions. Water finds its way underneath the fiery mountains and increases the pressure, making lava burst out. 66 million years ago, I wasn't around then, a strange beaver-like creature lived alongside dinosaurs on Madagascar. Scientists have no idea which family it belonged. A leaf beetle has been found that can relieve allergy in millions of people. It feeds on a powerful allergen, and scientists believe it could save us all a lot of trouble. Salmon, traveling thousands of miles every year, might be using tiny particles of magnetite in their bodies to navigate by magnetic fields. Forest fires might seem dangerous, but in small measures, they're in fact good for the environment. For example, they help wild honeybees to adapt to harsh conditions. In 2018, a hailstorm pelted a town in Argentina with chunks of ice the size of volleyballs. Ow! There's a real-life Jurassic Park in Morocco. The Kem beds are an extremely rich source of dinosaur fossils, with dozens of species uncovered in the last few decades. In 1876, Kentucky experienced a rain of meat. Flakes and chunks of the raw stuff fell in a shower and continued for a few minutes. Ooh, that's just wrong. A bolt of lightning can reach temperatures 5 times higher than the surface of the sun. A hairy frog species in Cameroon can break bones in its own limbs to produce sharp claws right through the skin. a real-life Wolverine frog. Bubblegum is usually pink because the first commercial gum, made in 1928, was like that. Pink simply was the only color of the food dye available at the factory. The first chewing gum ever, though, probably appeared about 10,000 years back. People chewed birch bark tar back then. Before 1904, Times Square had been called Longacre Square. When the New York Times moved its headquarters there, the place was renamed. You can't name a folder "con" on any version of Windows. Cats and dogs have 3 eyelids, and so do many other animals, such as camels or elephants. Frogs can freeze and thaw without any harm to their well-being. Bananas have a curved shape because they turn towards the sun. When you eat spicy food, you feel not the taste of it, but a sort of pain. Dogs can tell the time of day by smell, and they do it pretty precisely. Llamas and donkeys are excellent guard animals for livestock, especially sheep. In some areas of China, police have guard geese instead of dogs. The Hippocratic Oath, followed by medical experts worldwide, was last revised in 1964 by Louis Lasagna. Since then, many refer to it as the Oath of Lasagna. Water boils on top of Mount Everest at 160 degrees Fahrenheit because of a much lower atmospheric pressure. If you would shuffle a deck of cards to get every possible combination, you'd spend billions upon billions upon billions of years just to get a third of the way there. Sounds like a huge waste of time. A single gram of DNA can store about 700 terabytes of information. The world's largest desert is not Sahara, but Antarctica, and it still has one functional ATM. Not sure of the connection, but NASA has had a professional sniffer on their staff for over 40 years now. His job is to test the smell of anything before the object goes into space. The Eiffel Tower has been officially married since 2007. The landmark's spouse is Erika Eiffel. And if she was somehow not a very nice person, she'd be known as the Awful Eiffel. It takes almost 2,000 gallons of water to raise just a pound of almonds. The largest human baby ever born weighed over 15 pounds. Of all people that ever lived on the planet, roughly 7% are alive right now. The rest, not so much. A hybrid of grizzly and polar bear is called a growler bear or a pizzly bear. A hybrid of a domestic cow and an American bison is called a beefalo. Parrots help each other without any selfish reasons, even when the one they help is not their friend or relative. One of the closest relatives of hyenas is a meerkat. Australia has a fence that's almost as long as the Amazon River. It protects farmlands from dingoes, or wild dogs. There's enough gold in the Earth's core to cover the whole planet in a foot-thick layer. The smallest dinosaur in history was the size of a bee hummingbird. In Scotland, there are more than 400 ways to say snow. Get a lot of snow, do you now? While most of the world lives in 2020, Ethiopia is still in 2013 because their calendar is different. Greenland sharks become adults and start looking for mates only when they're 150 years old. Their average lifespan is about 400 years, so they're very choosy. Folding a simple sheet of paper 103 times will get you outside the boundaries of the observable universe. Oxford University was established in 1096, which makes it over 200 years older than the Aztec civilization. I'll bet homecoming is a trip. The first book printed in Oxford had a mistake on the very first page. It was the date of its printing. Spandex, a fiber used for making sports clothing, got its name as an anagram of the word expands. And it does. Scientists sped up evolution for baby snails. When the critters were exposed to platinum, they developed without shells. Basketball was invented in 1891, but up until 1894, it was played with a soccer ball. By 2050, there will be no ice in the Arctic Ocean in summer. There are about 3 trillion trees on our planet. That's almost 30 times more than there are stars in the Milky Way galaxy. Ring-tailed lemurs have patches on their wrists, giving off a pleasant scent to attract mates. Around 34 million years ago, ancient primates crossed the Atlantic from Africa to South America, and nobody knows how. While auroras are usually green and blue, Japan witnessed a red one about 1,400 years ago. In February of this year, the tallest waterfall in Ecuador, San Rafael, suddenly stopped flowing. A huge sinkhole appeared just before the fall and diverted the stream. The South Pole was a lush tropical rainforest about 90 million years ago. Number 1 isn't exactly 1. It's 0.infinite nines. There's a state at which water can be both boiling and freezing. I'm guessing Alaska. Oops, sorry, not that kind of state. IKEA isn't a word, but an acronym. It stands for the name of its founder, Ingvar Kamprad, the farm he grew up at, and his hometown. Soap operas got their name from the first advertisers sponsoring dramas on radio and TV. They were mainly cleaning and detergent products manufacturers. Scientists believe there can be up to 30 million species of insects on Earth, but only a little over 900,000 have been identified yet. During the 20th century, so much ice has melted off Greenland that our planet's axis shifted. Narwhals, dubbed unicorns of the sea, don't actually have horns. Those long, spiral-shaped things are overgrown teeth. Horses can have dashing mustaches to match their manes, and they look fabulous. The tallest cactus in the world is in Mexico, and it's 63 feet tall. That's like 4 giraffes stacked on top of each other. At any given moment, there are 2 points on Earth exactly opposite to each other, but having exactly the same temperature and atmospheric pressure. Since birds have evolved from dinosaurs and had a crocodilian ancestor, they just might have been classified as reptiles. The fastest racing pigeon in the world, going by the name of Armando, is also the most expensive bird ever. It was sold at an auction for $1.4 million. Formula One racing cars are constructed in such a way that, at a certain speed, they could be driving on a ceiling. The colors of the Olympic rings are a no-chance thing. At least one of the colors appears in flags of every country in the world. Both Charlie Chaplin and Dolly Parton participated in their own look-alike contests and lost dramatically. The production of the 1997 movie Titanic cost more than the construction of the actual ship. The letter Z was removed from the Latin alphabet in 300 BCE and returned 2 centuries later. Zeta, you say? If you have an itch in your right arm, look in the mirror and scratch the same point on your left arm. The itch will probably go away. Your tongue and lips get irritated when you eat a lot of pineapple because of bromelain, an enzyme that destroys proteins. Pineapples basically eat you while you're eating them. One horse can produce up to almost 15 horsepower at its peak performance. An average human can produce up to 5 horsepower. Sounds to me like the unit of measurement is a little off, don't you think? Sunflower, translated to Turkish, is called moonflower. Statistically, only 1 in 76 billion people can have IQ of 200. It means no one living today should have this level of intelligence. The average cumulus cloud, or the big fluffy type, weighs around 1 million pounds, and still it floats. The tiniest thing ever photographed was the shadow of an atom. By 2100, scientists predict that the sea level will rise by 4 feet. Rats can smell if their pack members are hungry and share their food with them. The ancestor of all modern animals, including ourselves, lived in Australia for about 500 million years ago and looked much like an earthworm. Some butterflies' wings are 100 times blacker than charcoal, but this effect is just an optical illusion created thanks to the wing structure. In Central Asia, ethnic singers can produce 2 distinctive sounds simultaneously with their throat. So, try singing 2 different notes at the same time. That's it. Domestic cats influence wildlife in their vicinity much more than other wild animals, especially predators. There's an ant species that has been evolving in both directions, forwards and then backwards. In just 12 days of eating sugar, our brain structure changes, and we have a hard time doing without sweet stuff afterwards. Hey, chew on that one for a while.